Hello, I hope you're well. We are spending the day at one of the many lakes outside the city, and I just had my first meal al fresco of the year, so I definitely can't complain now that I'm well fed and I'm taking a quick walk after lunch. I wanted to share a couple of takeaways from an interview with Tony Robbins I recently came across. Number one is the fact that many people are managing their lives rather than being creators. And what does Tony Robbins mean by that? Well, basically, it's the fact that most of us are just kind of, moving along and trying to keep things as they are. It could also be the idea of, staying in your comfort zone. Or, as I used to say when I was still knee deep, in fact, elbow deep, shoulder deep, head deep in my eating disorders, I used to say, well, I'm just surviving, I'm not living. It's the fact that you don't really feel you have the power to make any change. You don't feel like you have a lot of agency over your life. You can't make bold moves when necessary. If you change your mind, want to try something new, you're scared by change. You kind of cling to the devil rather than trying something different. And yeah, you kind of just feel like the best you can do is to keep things moving along as they are without rocking the boat too much. But everything changes if you feel like you are the creator of your life. So don't just always focus on managing as best you can, but ask yourself, am I really building the life I want? Can I make changes that will serve me well? I've been thinking about this a lot myself because, as I probably have shared previously, I always felt like I had no agency over my life. I always felt like, the best I could do was to coast along, and I want that to change. And number two was that a lot of times we feel that life happens to us. So we're kind of the victims, we're passive, it's bad luck. But what if we adopt a mentality of life happening for us? So everything that happens to us has a lesson. And if we can learn to spot the lesson, or another way of putting it could also be if we can find the silver lining in the situation, then we go from feeling like we're just, unlucky or passive to actually feeling like we again have power. I'll give you a recent example that's personal. So as I've mentioned already, the situation with my mom has been very difficult, and there have been a lot of discussions with my brother. And in my last video I said how I didn't really handle this very well. I went into reactive mode again, acted impulsively rather than taking my time to really assess things and then respond in a more thoughtful and constructive manner. But at least I recognized that. And I asked myself, okay, the last few months didn't go great. I could have handled things better. There was a lot of hurt and pain, at least there was for me. But rather than feeling like, again, always only problems, always only hurt and pain, why me, etc., I asked myself, what's the lesson in all of this? And I realized that I'm someone that, in addition to having a tendency of feeling overwhelmed and therefore being too reactive rather than responsive, I'm also someone who was always a people pleaser and tended to avoid confrontation because I usually would just cave, could never get things to go my way. So as much as possible, I just tried to, again, not engage in any confrontation. And this was apparent again with my brother this time, because for the first time I tried to just not be a people pleaser, but I'm not very good at that. So in the end, the result is just that, yeah, I didn't get what I want, and I also came across unfavorably. So the worst result I could get. And I said, well, at least this is the final push I needed to face the fact that I need to learn how to engage in a confrontation, and I started looking for material to help me with that, to help me become a better negotiator, to help me become a better communicator. And I came across the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, who was the lead negotiator for the FBI. And that book is just phenomenal. I recommend you read it. I could also maybe do a video about the book if you're interested. And, you know, things with my brother, I don't know if I'll be able to, you know, change the result of the discussions we had. Maybe yes, maybe no. We'll see. But I definitely learned some very important lessons that I can now use moving forward. And I feel like, yeah, this didn't just happen to me, it happened for me. It really helped me finally change and become less passive, and in a way also become more of a creator rather than just you know, a manager of my life. So the 2 points are somewhat related. And sorry, I just lost the train of thought with the people. I actually already applied the lessons from the book to another recent interaction I had, and I had shared in the previous video or 2 videos ago, I can't remember. I had bought, oh yeah, it was the video about the flakiness epidemic. Are we in a flakiness epidemic? So as I had mentioned, I bought a course about investing in Europe, and the course included monthly market updates. And at a certain point, the creator of the course realized that too many people were participating in these live updates, and decided to limit access to just a few months. And that really made me angry, because when I bought the course, I was promised lifetime access to these live updates. So I emailed them expressing my disappointment. And you know, at first they said, well, we can extend your access for a modest fee. And I was like, oh, so not only did you break your promise, but you also want more money from me. And I just went ballistics. So then they offered to extend it for free for a few months. And I was like, a few months won't make a difference. And I thought things had just ended there, but they actually emailed me again last week. And this time I took my time before replying, rather than just writing an angry reply. And I used some of the lessons I had learned from the book. And they wrote back with a different tone, in a different tone, much more conciliatory. And so now we'll see how it goes, what resolution we'll find. But yeah, I'm glad that I was able to immediately implement the lessons I learned. And yeah, I think this is really a game changer. Life isn't happening to you, life is happening for you. So let me know what you think. Do you feel like you're just managing your life, or do you feel like you're really creating the life you want? And how good are you at finding the silver lining in every situation and at implementing the lessons that life is giving you? This is all for today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll see you again in my next video. Speak soon. Bye bye. Ciao.